What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we have some breaking news. We haven't broke news in a while, and I don't know if that's going to be the case here today, but that is kind of the plan because I just saw this alert while I was editing a kind of a long video I'm working on here, taking a look at the Lions' current roster heading into free agency and the draft, and it was about offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. And usually I have to kind of fight myself to make sure I don't make these videos too long, so I'm going to do that in this one. But there is just some news that comes along, and you're just like, hey, man, I got to break this kind of news because everybody's thinking about it. Everybody's paying attention to it. I'm paying attention to it, even though I feel like we have options. But I see it. I'm excited, so I'm going to share that with you. You read it by the title. That's right. Ben Johnson is returning to the Detroit Lions. This is according to Tom Pelissero. He broke this news from what I saw, and this is the report. Let me read it to you guys. It says this: Lions OC Ben Johnson informed interested teams he's staying in Detroit, per sources. Johnson was slated to travel Wednesday to interview with the Panthers, but he feels Detroit is building something special and wants to see it through. Should be a hot head coach name again next year. Oh my goodness, this is fantastic. According to that, it sounds like Ben Johnson's just kind of sitting there saying, okay, look, there's interest. Maybe he knew or didn't know or had a feeling about if he was going to get a head coach job. I'm not sure. But again, that was slated for Wednesday, so he hadn't even had that interview yet. But I guess he thought it through and he's like, you know what? I want to come back and be a part of this. And this is pretty darn awesome. This is really awesome. I mean, we joked about, hey, make him the highest paid OC. You know, do whatever you got to do to make sure that this guy is back. I'm a huge fan of this guy, and I'm glad he got his recognition. But at the same time, it was kind of like, well, dang, we might lose him because he really started to get a ton of recognition and started to really build towards the end of the season. But he was doing just a fantastic job from my perspective, doing the all-22s with you guys, even when, you know, we would miss players and guys were out, and just the way that he would figure out leverage and what worked for Goff and helping him last season. And at the same time, when we missed a piece, how we could kind of hide that. The incredible offense that we had in the red zone, which is just night and day from last year. I think it was fourth in the NFL this season. I mean, there were just so many things you can point to that the Lions did well this year. And I got to hop in here and just say it, man. When you just see the Brian Dable impacts that he's having on the Daniel Jones and maybe he had on the Josh Allens, and we always talk about it, like how underrated coaching is. But this is massive because this is just such a big part of Dan Campbell having to find these coordinators. Sometimes they hit and sometimes they don't. Maybe he missed with Lynn, but then they found that lightning in Ben Johnson. He got his opportunity, and it's just so massive. Like, this gets so underrated, the coaching side of it, but at the same time, all the guys that succeed have these fantastic coaches, coordinators, whatever they may be. And for Goff, we saw how much it meant last season. And I mean, it was the perfect pairing. It was the first time for Ben to have an opportunity to mold it, and it was an opportunity for Jared Goff to get with an offensive coordinator that was, hey, I'm building this with you. We're doing this thing together. And we saw it take off. And even Ben, I thought, grew last season. Like, there were times where he's like, man, I didn't love how I did that. And, you know, the decision-making there maybe wasn't great. But with a lot of the same guys coming back, I mean, his understanding of what's going to be necessary and what he should do in certain situations, I'm just so excited for this. I mean, what does it say about Dan and what the belief is? Look at free agents out there looking around like, oh, this guy's coming back to Detroit. What does that say to everybody in the football world? It means that's the place to be. You can look at this from so many perspectives, from, you know, the player's perspective and talking about re-signing. Think about Ben Johnson reportedly was a favorite for 2 head coaching positions. So I don't know all the ins and outs, whether or not he knew, but if he was a favorite and he decided to come back, like, first off, it's hard for me to think of a guy that, you know, took another job and went elsewhere because, you know, usually you have to be consistently successful to get those opportunities. But at the same time, to come back if you're the favorite, that's unheard of, man. It's banking on himself, but it's also betting on the fact that, man, this thing's going to happen. I believe in this wholeheartedly because if I thought this thing could sink, why would I come back? I want to be a part of something that's extremely special, and I think that's going to happen. Ben Johnson just saw this, you know, coming because this was at the hands of John Kaminsky putting on Instagram, man, I want to be back in Detroit. Isaiah Buggs just recently putting it out there, I want to be re-signed, right? Those are defensive guys. But now Ben's just like, man, these guys want to come back. This is special. And we were all kind of sitting here like, I know, we were all kind of hoping, hey, this guy comes back, and now here's the news. So I want to share that with you guys. If you haven't seen it, now you have. Ben Johnson is back as the Lions OC. This means a ton, of course, for the Lions. Aaron Glenn wanted to be the best defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions of all time, and maybe Ben Johnson is kind of following maybe a little bit in those footsteps. But remember, this was a one-year time. This is 1 year Ben Johnson has been an offensive coordinator. It would have been a very quick turnaround. I think he had earned that opportunity, honestly. Like, if someone hired him, like I said, if I was going to hire an offensive coordinator, I know he's new to it, but I would hire that guy. because he was outstanding with our offense. And I'm so excited that this is going to get another year of this, so we can keep building the same direction, and we know what it's going to look like, and we know that it's going to work with Jared Goff. And he's right. They are building something special. And as Sheila said, you know, it's going to roll through Detroit now. Like, that's the road, is through Detroit. This is a heck of a start for the Lions to get this guy back, and I'm super excited. So I'm going to leave it there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm sure everybody's fired up about this. Ben Johnson is staying in Detroit. Let's get it. Thank you, Prep, for watching, and I'm out.